Hey guys, welcome back to another student success story. So if you don't know much about me, my name is Milan and I run a company called Break Into Tech where we help people get jobs in the tech sales industry. We've helped over 500 people over the last 3 years get jobs in the tech sales industry. And today I'm interviewing a special success story with a good student of ours, Mohammed. So with that in mind, I'll pass it on to Mohammed. Mohammed, do you want to just quickly introduce yourself to the audience?
Of course, yeah, definitely. Thank you, Bilal, again, and yeah, for everything that you've helped me with so far. And yeah, like my name is Mohammed. I'm not even from the UK, so I came from Syria about 10 years ago. And yeah, gladfully, I've graduated from a good uni, but even then, in this market, that's not good enough. So I've been job searching for over a year. I've been trying to figure out, really what I want to do, whether that's through graduate schemes and all that stuff, and people fighting over very minimum salaries. And I just thought to myself, does it really have to be like that? And whilst I was job searching, I was kind of working a couple minimum wage jobs. I worked at a restaurant. I worked in a non-profit organization, helping people with drugs and alcohol. I just really appreciate the client-facing aspect of it. And I've just kind of realized at that point that maybe that's something that's quite sustainable, especially as we are reaching an age where AI is getting better and better, taking over jobs. Working in an environment where it's very client-facing is probably going to be the best bet for me. I found, I found about tech sales over, on TikTok. It was not just yourself. I was viewing a lot of content. It's getting very popular. And that's, I think, where I kind of pulled the trigger and I thought, this is the time to,
I love it.
Program.
I love it. So just so I can fully understand, so you graduated from King's College London with what was your degree?
So yeah, I did a very random degree, biomedical science. So essentially, I was planning to get into medicine, as my parents dreamed of me doing. I've realized, first of all, of course, I did get rejected. I did land an offer in Italy, which I ultimately did not want to do. And I've realized maybe that's the reason why I'm trying to get into dentistry or medicine in the first place is not for the role itself, but just to ultimately make money.
Of course.
I thought there's probably better ways to make money, right? Yeah. So that's why I found sales. And I just think better than being hunched back in a clinical environment, I could be sat remote working and chilling and
making a lot of money as well. So you graduated from King's College London this summer, right?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So why don't we begin with a highlight? What tech sales job did you land? How long did it take you to land this tech sales job? And what is the salary in total, the total package?
Of course, yeah. It's quite insane because let me start with this. It did take me about 6 months to land the role. And I was quite concerned that, within the 6 months, it wouldn't be worthwhile. I would land just a mediocre role, but I actually ended up landing an incredible role at a company called Vanta. And they're paying a total package so it's 72,000 per year, which is absolutely insane. I can't even think of any other graduate role that pays that much. And it's split between a base salary of about 50,000, and a commission of 20, which is uncapped, and there's equity, and there's so many other benefits that come with it. They're quite crazy. A generous American company.
So,
and they have funding.
So you landed a £72,000 a year tech sales job as a recent graduate with zero experience in tech.
I still can't believe it myself, to be honest. But thanks to you and thanks to God as well, it has been made possible. And I feel as a testimony, if I was able to do it, anyone else would be.
Okay, that's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. So you landed a sales development representative job at this company. £72,000 is your on-target earnings for your first year. What will happen to your salary once you get promoted to the next level, to an account executive?
Very good question. They didn't mention the salary exactly, but they did say that I'm on track to become an account executive by next year. And from what I've seen on Glassdoor, it's definitely went over the six-figure mark. I think it's around 130 to 150 OTE.
So within 1 to 2 years of graduating, you could already be on £150,000 a year.
Yeah, honestly, so I'm a first generation to university, but I do have relatives that have been working over 10 years in finance or in tech, and they're at that stage. So I could possibly surpass them within the 2-year mark, which is absolutely insane. I can't even.
That's crazy. That's why I got into tech sales as well, by the way. And I worked in the industry for about 5 years, got up to all the way into a multiple six-figure job. One of the first sales hires at a very well-known AI company. And then obviously when I co-founded Break Into Tech, it was primarily because to help other people from non-traditional backgrounds, right? You said you're from Syria. I came from Afghanistan, couldn't speak English, no family connections, went to a terrible uni, and I still managed to get here. So we have a similar background in that sense, right? But it's so crazy because a lot of people that go to top universities like KCL, UCL, Imperial, they always end up aspiring to work in finance, consulting. And correct me if I'm wrong, but in your first year, even in a good finance role or even in a good consulting role, even then you can't make £72,000.
Yeah, I literally made such a deep reflection about this, and I've realized at the end of the day, it was kind of me behind my, like, in the back of my mind, I really cared about what other people thought. Like, oh, like, working at Goldman Sachs or something like that would be very, like, prestigious. But is it worth it? Is it really worth it when you're working so many hours, probably, like, investment banking, you're working over 100 hours, first of all. And also, it's not guaranteed. Like, let's say you do land a role, most of them don't make it past the associate role. So is it really worthwhile in that sense? And, all these jobs are, like, kind of dying, like, roles in tech, like, they've been taken over. Even people who graduated, like, computer science degree, for example, struggling landing a role. Consulting is dying. You can search it up why it's dying. I'm not going to talk about it. And so, like, what I found with sales is, like, with my goal, and I think with a lot of people as well, they kind of mask the reason behind why they want a career. Ultimately, everyone wants to make money. They want to have a stable job, especially in the economy. 100%. This is the most important thing, is money. Like, money buys happiness. I'm being serious. Like, money buys happiness. You can, buy a house, get on the property ladder within this stable economy, get married, hopefully have kids, and, be able to live a content life. And I think that's ultimately what matters. And sales is the closest thing I've found, for me to achieve that. And it may sound like too good to be true as well. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna, like, raise eyebrows, like, why is it that you can make so much money and very quickly? And I think I ultimately believe it's because it's not an easy career. People think it's easy. People look down at people. It's very, very difficult, and you're very tied to your targets. Like, you have to perform. It's not like an email job where you can sit, behind an office and pretend that you're doing work, but you're actually not doing anything in it. Because it's very obvious, if you're doing something wrong.
Let's not get it twisted. Sales, and especially tech sales, is a very hard job. Like Mohammed mentioned, right? You're not a fake employee where you're not doing anything. By the way, a lot of those jobs are going to get replaced by AI. Like, those little project managers and little administrators and little consultants that used to get away with not doing anything and making good money, they're going to get wiped out. Give it 2 months, they're going to be jobless and they're going to be begging for jobs. But in sales, you have to hit your targets, of course, right? But let me ask you this. Why should other graduates from good universities, why should they consider a career in tech sales? What are the top 3 reasons that a top graduate from a top university should consider a career in tech sales?
I think the first thing, before saying anything, is people need to educate themselves about sales. It is getting, like, much more popular nowadays, and it's becoming very competitive. And I feel like it's really important to get support, if you want to land a role, because ultimately the way you talk and the way you carry yourself in an interview is going to reflect on how you're going to be in a sales role, because very client-facing. It's very difficult. In terms of top 3 reasons, first thing, money, like I've mentioned already. So I'm just going to put that out of the way. The second reason, I didn't come prepared to this interview, by the way. So, like, this is great. But
maybe progression, maybe the
progression, 100%. Like, you can make it very, very quickly. But then as well, I think another reason is, I think for a lot of people who are looking potentially to open, like, their own business, let's say, long term, I think sales is probably the most important, one of the most, if not the most important skill to learn. Just because, like, with finance, you can learn that easily. Like, you can do a couple courses online, you can learn that. But I think with sales, it really takes a lot of reps. And ultimately, what you're learning is not just sales. You're you're understanding the other person on the other side, how they think, because you've done so many reps that you kind of gain a pattern of human behavior, and that can really help you ultimately, like, to generate an idea of what's the pain point that I want to solve and open a business and basically, make it life. And I think that's a really important skill to learn.
The progression, and the fact that you're learning probably the most important business skill, which can ultimately help you find your own business.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Totally agree with that.
Awesome. I guess, what are some misconceptions that people have about tech sales that you believe are no longer true because, you did our program, now you're going to start a job? Tell us a little bit about that. Yeah,
I think one thing is people relate it to, like, other types of sales roles. So, whether that's, like, very transactional, very pushy, and, like, what is portrayed in movies, or, just, like, what's being thrown around. First of all, in tech sales, you're selling something that's very high value, and you're selling it probably to the most senior person in a business, and it's B2B. So it's like you're selling business to business. And so in that sense, it becomes, rather than being transactional, you're building relationships and you're solving problems, and it becomes very fulfilling and actually very enjoyable, especially when you make it to that account executive role, where you're handling, like, the product demos, you show them around, like, you kind of, like, get to chat to them and also build a relationship ultimately. Like, and I think that's what makes it quite enjoyable for someone you don't have to be extroverted. Honestly, I'm a very introverted person, by the way. I think you just need to not be afraid of cold calling people, and that's something that you can learn. I think you can be afraid at the start, but then you can kind of get over that fear. And it's all worthwhile at the end. Like, once you made it over that barrier, you're basically...
to be honest, it's funny you say that, because I used to also be very introverted, and I think you have to not be shy to be successful in life in general. Like you have to go out there and find your husband or wife or life
100%.
partner. You have to go out there and find your friends. You have to go out of your way to make partnerships and build a network. And to be able to do all of that, you just stop being shy. And one of the best ways to stop being shy is to get into sales. So if you're watching this right now and you're shy, know that the reason that you're not where you want to be in life is because you're shy, like genuinely. And I got unshy, if that's a word, by actually just putting myself out there, getting into sales. So that's a crazy benefit that very few people talk
100%.
about.
It really builds your character. Like it changes you like 360 degrees.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I guess, what did you try and break into tech sales by yourself before joining Break Into Tech? What was that experience like if you did try it?
Yeah. So, I understood that tech sales is what I wanted to do. So that's the first thing I established. And I did apply to a couple of roles, but it's just that I just didn't have a sense of direction. And the reason why what made the turning point for me to actually get into this program is I realized not only that I need the support, but I need the motivation to do so as well, because you can procrastinate very easily, trying to do things on your own. And if you have someone to keep you accountable, you kind of almost guarantee that you are going to get the results at some point. And the other thing is, like, what I really liked about this program is just the community itself. I thought like I would be getting into a community where everyone's like competing with each other, like, being jealous of who landed what. But everyone was like so supportive and so like nice to each other. And ultimately we all want to had the same goal. We want to help each other, which is something I really appreciated. And I've made some very like lifelong friends from this program, which is amazing as well.
Yeah, that's another thing that people don't really understand is like they think, if you join a community like this, you just get the course. But what they don't realize is, like you said, for example, you've made really good friends with Mustafa. Even me and you have become really good friends. And a lot of people, there's about 230 people in that group, right? So you're definitely going to be able to find some friends and make some friends and help each other out. I guess, carrying on this conversation on this topic, what would you say was like the top 3 most useful parts of being in the Break Into Tech program for you personally?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is getting started. That's the most important thing. Onboarding, just being able to optimize everything around my portfolio in terms of LinkedIn and CV visibility. And that's what ultimately has, coming from a person who did not get any single interview, in the past year, to start getting 3 to 4 interviews a week.
Wow.
And as I got, so it's incredible. Like, once you learn that system and how it works, then it can be really, really helpful. And of course, it doesn't guarantee that you're going to get the role, but at least getting those reps, interviewing many times, and then eventually something is going to stick, of course. And the second thing is, like, it was you had such a plethora of information that you had in your document, right? And I'm sure you know yourself that I'm like one of the most studious people at your from your cohort. And even myself, I was not able to go through all of it. That's the thing. And so I feel like you need to. It's like university where you pay for the course, but you have to take the initiative to actually utilize it to its fullest. And I think if you are coming here and you're determined and you know what you're doing and you're willing to put in the effort, then you'll definitely see results guaranteed. There's no question about that. And the third thing is, like I mentioned before, which is like the community, which is
the community is a big deal. 100%. Whenever I've joined programs in the past, like I met a mentor on TikTok 3-4 years ago, Chris Tech Sales, Tom Tech Sales or something. He started the whole trend of tech sales on TikTok during the pandemic. So I remember being in a Discord group with like 10,000 other people and making friends there, getting connections. So I totally agree. What would you say, I guess, are like, how do you think tech sales and experience? So a lot of people that join our program, they don't have experience, like yourself. Like I know you did have a bit of experience in some other job, but a lot of people that try and join the program or they end up joining the program, they don't have any experience, and maybe some of them have this misconception that you need experience to break into tech sales. What would you say to people like that?
Let's get over the misconception first. So a lot of these roles, they ask for this 1 to 2 years experience or even 3 years. Most of the time, of course, like, if you think of it from an employer's perspective, they want people with experience. But also because it's such a tough market, number one, it's filtering out those people who are not willing, like don't have the guts to apply in the first place. And then number two, in a sales role, like you need to understand, you need to learn how to handle objections. So let's say like you hop on a cold call and someone tells you I'm busy, you need to learn how to handle that. In a similar way, you need to learn how to handle someone telling you don't have experience. I think, like the role that I've landed, the guy looked at me straight in the eyes. He told me, you don't have the experience. We usually hire people who have worked at least 1 or 2 years in a startup, in a reputable startup, then work with us, but we want to hire you. And I think ultimately what swayed that is my interview performance. So the fact that I did really well, and also I demonstrated that I can do the job. even though I don't have the experience, through my cold calls, my the tasks that they're giving me, and just like the way I perform. I think if you can learn the system
Yeah.
and how to play it, then you can definitely land the role. Doesn't matter if you have sales experience or not.
Yeah, and again, I guess the way that I see it is that it's an entry-level tech sales job.
Mhm.
I know they say you need 1 to 2 years of experience in some of the jobs, especially with the bigger companies, but
Yeah.
we've proven it hundreds of times over that you don't need experience.
You just have to. You have to. Sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I want to say that you need to find a way to provide value from
Yeah.
someone else to compensate for the lack of experience.
Yes,
You can't just say,
100%.
"Oh, I have no experience. Just take me, please." But
100%.
yeah, like,
100%,
oh,
yeah.
I've done something else. So one of the things I want to talk about, this bonus point, which you've told me about, and give credit to, is the social media aspect of things. Like where, how you told me to create content and be able to get, was it like 500,000 views on my page within like less than a week?
Yeah.
And that's actually got me an offer for a job. I think we discussed this.
Yeah.
So like they've seen like my videos, they were interested. I've done the interviews and I've gotten the offer. And the person I was competing with is someone who actually had experience, but they favored me over him because I took the initiative. I did all of these things outside the box, whether that's like sending like a small video by emails, and then like all that kind of stuff that you can do, which you'll learn in the program.
Yeah. No, I agree. I remember telling you what to post on TikTok, and I can't believe it got to that many views, and you had like 4 or 5 interviews from that. I remember making a TikTok video about your TikTok video, and that was quite interesting. I guess, what are you looking forward to in your tech sales job? Are you looking forward to the lifestyle, to the commissions, to the money that you can make, to the connections, to the travel opportunities? What would you say is the most interesting things for you about your tech sales job?
That's hard to answer because I would say everything. Like there's so many benefits to it, right? But ultimately, I'm just really excited to like start my career finally.
Yeah.
Like this is not just a job; it's actually a career. I see a future to it, and I look forward to like putting my best, foot forward, make it, prove myself as well, and being able to deserve that promotion that I was looking to get in the next year. And yeah, like that's ultimately what I want. And of course, side note is also potentially get married based on that. That's the.
This is news. This is news.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome, man. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you. I guess for young men, obviously you're a young guy. How old are you? 24? 23?
23.
23. Yeah. Young men in their 20s right now on social media, they're lost, right? A lot of them, they don't have a direction in life. They think about dropshipping, AI business, Amazon, eBay, trading, whatever. They end up getting scammed. Do you feel like sales or tech sales is a good career path for them to start their career, build their income, make this good salary, learn a lifelong skill, and then go and do those things? What would you recommend young guys that are struggling, that are in your age range?
Yeah. No, 100%. Because let me say this: like, if I didn't land this role, I actually swore on it that this is going to be my final interview. I'm going to do, and then I'm going to give up.
You
so I had
me
the business plan.
You told me that on WhatsApp.
Yeah. So I think just learning sales in general would help you so much in building your own business, gain that idea, and also putting it into practice.
Yeah.
So I feel like even if you get into sales and you realize maybe it's not for you, it's probably the closest thing to entrepreneurship. So even if you exit it, it's a very safe pathway to get into like the business side of things. So I would definitely 100% recommend it, because at the end, like you still make a couple of bucks from it as well. Like it's gonna pay you a lot. And then once you've decided what business you want, and ultimately as well, why I want to do it first before opening a business is gain access to the network as well in London. Being around the smartest people and learning from them, and finding that person to be my co-founder.
Yeah, the network thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. I guess what would you say to people that say, the job security might not be there or whatever? What would you say to them about, I guess, a misconception like that? Or maybe it's a real misconception. I don't know. What do you think?
I think it is like, it is very difficult. It's a tough market. And I genuinely like, understand like people's situations. And I came from that situation as well. I almost gave up like on this job market, to be honest. I was even planning to leave the country. But I think you just, instead of blaming yourself or blaming the surroundings, you kind of want to take responsibility and find ways where you can stand out from all these other people, because you'll be surprised how little effort people put in to actually get what they want. So if you were that one person who just put like 1% more than all those other people, then you'll stand out and you will get what you want, I think.
100%. I couldn't agree more, man. Most people just mass apply, right? So that totally makes sense. What would you say? The final question I had for you, maybe this second final question. You studied biomedical sciences, right? A lot of people that study medicine or biomedical sciences or nursing, they end up working for the NHS. They make like 30K a year, 35K a year. They work 14 hours a day. What would you tell people, like, especially people like that? They should be paid a lot more. Like, this country disrespects them, harasses them, ruins their lives, even though they're some of the best people. What would you recommend for people like that? So obviously, they don't have sales skills, but they could work in health tech, in a health tech company, in a med tech company. What would you tell them? How would you help them?
Yeah. There's a difference between people who get into, medicine or research or all these things just for the enjoyment of it, like they genuinely enjoy this industry and they want to work despite the low income, which is unfortunate. And there's other people who got into it, maybe like myself. I was hoping to become a doctor and just like make a lot of money and just like be called a doctor by my family. I think that's a lot of Asian people dream as well. They have the exact same situation. And I think for them, you just gotta be courageous, honestly, to look outside and like think outside the box and explore things that are outside your comfort zone. And I felt like when I went to the interview, even though I came from that weakness, the interviewer respected me, that I came from such a niche background, and I'm looking to make such a huge transition to something that's completely unrelated. And people will condemn you for it, like your family or whoever, like they will talk about like what you're doing, but you gotta think what's to your best interest, I think.
So the fact that you came from a biomedical sciences background was actually to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. Because we've helped so many nurses and so many people in the NHS get into tech sales, like Nafisa, like Abhiyan, like there was a couple of other people who had like that kind of a background. Sorry, not maybe Abhiyan, but Nafisa, for example, and a couple of other students. Musa, who also was a biomedical science grad. Because they're just so underpaid, man. Like it's a scam. Working in the NHS is the biggest scam in the history of the world. Right, you have to study for 10 years and
it is unfortunate. It is unfortunate.
25K,
Yeah, no, 100%. Even for a doctor, like for them to get to that stage where, like, I'm gonna be making what a consultant will make after 15 years in just a year.
It's insane.
Hopefully, but that's it. Just puts it to perspective as well.
Yeah. What are your? Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, being rejected from medicine is probably the best thing that's happened to me. So I think maybe like if they're facing hardship in their life, just think of it could be for the best of you. For the best of you.
100%. You always have to think about the maybe this happened to you for a reason and think about the positives, right?
Exactly.
It's hard to do
100%.
that sometimes, obviously. Any final words of wisdom? Anything that you can give to people? Imagine you have a tablet of wisdom like Moses, and you're passing it on to the people. What are your words of wisdom? Any final sayings or proverbs or quotes that people can take from you?
No, of course. Yeah. I don't think I come from wisdom. I think I'm still quite naive and I'm still like part of the journey. But what I would say to people is, especially in this like tough economy, just don't give up, I think. But at the same time, you wanna see what's not working. Like you wanna troubleshoot what's not been working for the past couple of months that you've been doing and failing. So it's a combination of resilience, because that ultimately, if you want to get into tech sales, you gotta have that resilience, to be able to handle rejection in the role. It's a very tough role. And at the same time, you want to learn how to troubleshoot that. You want to work both smart and hard. And I think if you can learn that and master that process, you can do anything in life.
I totally agree, man. I totally agree. It's the job market is bad, but it's actually not that hard if you stand out. Like there was a girl called Meghna. She was in the program for 2 weeks before she landed her job at AlphaSense. Right, 2 weeks. She was in the program for 2 weeks. Obviously, she was still a great candidate. She had experience working at Bloomberg as an apprentice, etc., 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 etc. But she was jobless for 6 months before that, or something like that. She was clueless. So, look, brother, best of luck to you and your career. Thanks so much for taking the time today, and I will speak to you soon, man. Thank you very much.
Of course, man. Thanks.
God bless.
All right, man.